Dude,
Dude.
how are you? How are
I'm
you?
good. So
I
now
would like to
technically we
first
are in the
start
middle of
off.
the day. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, middle of the day. Gotcha. Interruptions. I have also been water loading. Uh, I
Oh,
have I have been not feeling well this week. Some bloating and some pains. I'm pretending like it's not my tumors growing at an exponential rate all of a sudden because my chemo failed. I'm I'm almost. I was also abusing alcohol way more than was wise, and it has the same a liver issue has the same kind of feeling. And I was remembering Rowdy and how he was always kind of pushing on his, and I was kind of doing the same thing. It was like, okay, well, I'm done with that. So alcohol helped a lot get me through a lot of the pain, and probably attributed to some of my depression. But I have to be done with alcohol just because it's bad. It was never. I did look into it a little bit. It didn't have any obvious interference with the chemotherapy or the cancer, so it wasn't wasn't that issue. But alcohol by itself is not conducive to health in general. So, and it's hard on the liver, and I just that little bit of scare made me go, oh well, maybe I should stop poisoning myself on every level. So I've been feeling terrible. Yeah. Oh, I picked them all, and I'm slowly eliminating them to be able to use the most that I can and feel the best that I can. And I haven't found that balance yet. So I've had 3 of these and 3 cups of coffee and 1 event so far. So if I have to get up and bolt out of the room, you'll know why.
if you do, I'll just chill something while you're gone.
Yeah, yes.
Seriously.
Now, that out of the way. Yeah, yes. But that out of the way, the link you sent me to the review of Dune, I didn't realize it was Sargon of Akkad when I was watching it. I hadn't heard his voice in years.
I don't know if I realized that you didn't like Sargon of Akkad.
It's not don't like. It's it's he was kind of now you're going to move your camera. Yeah. It's not that I don't like him. I don't like his politics. I don't like your politics. So so it's not about like. He was the bane of the atheist movement back in the day. The bane of liberalism
atheist.
and yes, but you could see how that's an issue where you're an atheist supporting conservative candidates, and you can see how there might be a conflict with that. Sargon of Akkad is an atheist that is conservative, so largely the general population of America, if you're conservative, you are religious. So having someone like a conservative atheist will naturally.
I don't think it's a good idea to equate atheism with conservatism. I think those are two.
No, it's not. See, that's the problem. Atheism. That's very funny. Because atheism, of course, is associated with liberalism.
Oh, I wouldn't equate those either.
Yes. But the conservative viewpoint in America, at least, is 80% Christian based. So if you're a conservative in America, 80% chance you are fundamentalist Christian of some sort. So when you're an atheist and still conservative or aggressively conservative, like old school biblical types conservative, you can see how that's confusing and how your agendas may conflict with the general atheist movement, which is the now 16%, I believe.
I don't have an agenda.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. Because we all have an agenda. We all have things we believe, right? and we
Okay. Okay.
believe they're the right way. And so if you're
We want to
talking
sell
with
those
somebody,
things.
we want to sell those things. So that is
Yeah, we're
by
gonna sell.
agenda. Yeah, I'm not talking mustachio twirling criminal villain agenda. I have an agenda, you have an agenda. We all have a life philosophy that we think is right or we wouldn't have it, and we try and sell it. So that's his agenda is mixed. He's a mixed bag. He's also, as I remember it, generally well, maybe I don't remember right. I don't want to comment. I shouldn't comment. I remember something being anti-trans, but almost anyone that didn't go with the
I
mainstream
don't know if I.
atheist movement would be called anti-trans at some point.
The one thing I can say about Carl Benjamin is that with just about every argument I've ever heard him assert, he has asserted it so eloquently and so well. He has what's the word I'm looking for? He has talked it. He has articulated it. He's articulated it so well. I wouldn't want to argue against him on any of those things. I would probably have to just tip my king over and say, you won that one. Whatever the argument was. He's good.
Carl Benjamin. Oh, that's atheist. That's Sargon. Right.
Sargon of
No.
Akkad.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know his real name. And no. He is way more well educated and well spoken and better at arguing. He would walk all over me. But the problem
And
with
British.
that is, and British. Yes, that is a thing. But see, the problem with that, I acknowledge
That's all
that.
you need for an air of authority.
Yeah. But the problem with having that kind of stance is he also wouldn't change my mind. As eloquent as he is in his speech and his arguments, and I remember watching a lot of him, they never convinced me. So eloquence is not convincing. Sometimes you need
Not
someone
always.
a little
Yeah.
more raw, emotional. Sometimes you need a smarmy bastard to convince you
Maybe
what's
even that.
real. Yeah, and that is, I believe, where we come in.
Well, dig it.
So I did a quick search on
Yes.
Dune and transgender, and there are no takes on that, and it surprised me. And I don't know why it surprised me, because it didn't strike me until Sargon of Akkad, oddly, in his review, his pointing out the character's nature and how the progressive censors were let it go by. And I'm thinking, wait, the progressive censors let a character that was a aggressive, white, straight male surrounded by warrior men, who was born but should have been born a woman, but has a body of a male but all the powers of a female, and nobody has suggested that he might have been transgender, the body and aggression of a man and the powers of a female.
Interesting take on
Is
it,
that
eh?
is that not that is from now on, in my mind, as I've been stewing this over and over and over, Paul Atreides, Paul is transgender. So Paul's transgender. I know, it's a shock. It was a shock to me. I don't know also if I wouldn't have come to that conclusion or seen that aspect of it if Paul hadn't been transgender. Again. So that was my thought. I wanted to get that off of my chest. Those few things. Paul of Atreides is transgender, and it is a story about a transgender that thwarts the female rule by being physically male. I don't know what my point is, but that's it. And nobody else has mentioned it, so I thought I would.
That's where the parallels stop. I certainly don't have any aspirations to thwart the female power agenda or anything like that.
Well, he could use the voice, right? Could other men use the voice?
Oh, right. Yeah, in the story.
Yeah.
Nope, I think that was just him. Her.
Yeah. It's them, they, but sold as a man. So I thought that was kind of funny. Gives me a different take on the whole thing. Makes it a little less. Actually, it would probably make it a little more dark, a little more sad.
Even more dark.
Frustrating. Yeah, more dark.
It was.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm working hard. I probably look a little bit tired. I don't know why I'd be sleep deprived. I'm not really, but I look in the camera and I'm like going, damn, I look like I could use some sleep. Could be just the afternoon.
Yeah, well, it's lighting, because when all these lights are off, I don't these blue, dark blue bags under my eyes and the general jaundiced appearance of I am not well, and I always seem to look okay on camera, which is
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
it's weird.
Very misleading.
I mean, I'm not going to sell any underwear, but I'm also not scaring off. I don't look like a ghoul, which I feel like a ghoul. I feel like a ghoul.
I don't feel like a ghoul, but I might look like a ghoul.
Nah. Ghouls don't have nice hair. It's all right.
Oh, shucks. Now you're just
Yeah.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah. But ghouls will wear a shirt like that. Bar ghouls.
This is for the gig.
This is your band shirt. I know.
Yeah.
That shirt has the band leader written all over it. Or the band singer, I should say. The band singer.
I am the leader of the band.
Yes, that's why I changed. That shirt has the band singer's fingerprint all over it.
I normally wouldn't wear this shirt to work, but it's Good Friday. There's nobody here, and I've got a gig directly after work.
Yeah.
So that's why I figured, what the heck, I'll just wear this thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just sit
Why not?
behind my desk today.
And don't get all the server grease on it. The server of coolant and server fuel.
Right. Or even just
I don't know.
dust bunnies.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw my shirt.
Oh,
Did
hey!
you recognize that?
That is radically classic.
Yeah. I saw that. I've had this for a few years, and I went punched in the gut by my childhood. So I had to pick it up. Peachy. Not very many people. This is a totally West Coast thing. Yeah, totally West Coast, by the way. Nobody outside of really West Coast Oregon
They didn't have them on the
area
East Coast,
knows. Nope.
Oh.
No peaches here.
know?
No peaches in Florida. Except for now.
Ain't that snapperhead? So anyway, do you have anything in particular that you wanted to hash out today? Because if you don't, I've got an idea.
Well, there was something you said you wanted to talk about in a text when we were texting back and forth.
Yeah. I remember that. I think it was in regards to a video, but I'd have to go back over our text to find out. And you're doing that, right?
I am, sort of. It might be back far enough.
Here, I'll research it myself while we're going.
E-bikes? Was it e-bikes? No.
Hopefully, you'll be able to cut this dead air out.
I can. Us just looking at our... this is our thread for our next capture. I've been struggling with bad dietary decisions. Chemo's corrupting my willpower. Alcohol and disassociation have been derailing me more than anything, but it's kind of life, breath, sanity. This is our next capture.
And what was that was going to be our next capture?
But I don't, at this point, even really remember.
Aha! I found the next chapter thread. I've been struggling with bad decisions just to see us move.
Yeah, I just read that.
So we have to unburden ourselves of these regrets and urges. You're right. I was being too cute in the chat. I can't even read my own past thread because I was doing the Gersperm Smerm. Bloody hell.
Yep. So what did you have in mind?
Well, there was something in our, it was either our last conversation or something more recent, or maybe it was one of them that I had rewatched lately, which, by the way, I've rewatched them all, and I think they're okay. I think they're okay.
I'm glad you think so. 90% of the time I'm like, fuck, I just want to take that down.
Yeah, I know. Well, and we want to cut all that dead air out if that were possible, but you let slide out something to allude to the notion that you had some issues with intellectual property rights. And I thought I would just go ahead and have you articulate your thoughts on intellectual property rights, where they start, where they stop, and what have you. In a nutshell.
Yes. Well, yeah. Gosh. I don't even... Most of my opinions are just what I don't like, or the way that I think it shouldn't be, or the way that it isn't working.
There's that S word again.
Yes. But almost none of my opinions are based on the way I think it would or should work. Because I don't know. I hate capitalism. I think it's dangerous. I think it got us to where we are, but now I think it's dangerous and killing us. Do I? That's not a weird opinion. Lots of people have it. Do I think socialism is the answer? I don't even know in 2024 what socialism is. It's so different. So I don't know what the answer, what the alternative to capitalism is. Likewise, the what is it? The ownership. What were you asking me about?
Ownership of what your brain comes up with.
Intellectual property. Jeez, help me out here. Throw me a goddamn bone. Intellectual property. I'm not even high. I'm not high. It's going to get, it's way worse than you think it is. Intellectual property. I think like capitalism and like the covered wagon, it was very useful, and it was the tool that we had to get here. In a world where intellectual property or things like a song can be shared or can be sold without loss of a thing that is not physical, where there's an infinite amount of it. Like I could sell you my song, and then I can sell somebody else my song, and I still have my song. So I really can, with intellectual property, have my cake and eat it too. So that should right there break capitalism as you understand it.
Well, there's
so what we're arguing about.
Just talked about. But let's go back to something even more basic than that, real quick, because I want to just make sure that we are totally, hopefully, with any luck at all, at least if we're not on the same page now, that I can get us on the same page with regards to property rights. And I think we are more or less on the same page.
Okay, property rights are totally different than intellectual property. You're talking about a totally different thing now. Property rights are a totally different subject to intellectual property.
How would you suggest they're different?
One is a physical location. One is an actual thing. Intellectual rights are thoughts, is ideas, is information. One is information, one is physical land. One has a limited resource. The other is an unlimited resource. and any attempt you make to smash those two together are going to conflict. I'm gonna nod my head and say, okay, that's the way it is, but I don't think it's the way it should work or what would work best.
Let's come back to the intellectual property rights in a minute. We'll just start with property rights. Do you agree with me then that property rights are fundamental?
I don't want to be difficult, but I'm going to
No. Be obtuse if you want.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Fundamental.
Okay. What I mean by fundamental is, let's say, let me add to that. Fundamental to our quality of life. Fundamental to our pursuit of happiness. Fundamental to the rule of law.
No, yes.
Okay, so fundamental to the rule of law?
It is fundamental to the rule of law because we wrote the laws to make it fundamental. We make the laws. We make them up, right? So all of our laws we made up based on stuff. Sure, there are reasons.
Can you think of any exceptions to that? Are there any laws that we have made, or I should say that should be made, but are there laws that we adhere to that we did not make, that we just discovered?
Gravity.
Gravity's good. A law of the universe, a law of science and physics.
Physics.
Okay.
Physics. Everything else we've made up.
All right. So
now, with the
fundamental,
with the rights,
property rights with regards to a person's body for a second.
Okay.
Do we have 100% property rights to our person?
Clearly not.
And
not even a little.
I'm going to use the S word. Should we?
If society had the power, yes. We probably should. I think we should.
Let me put it like this then. As a person who is going out through the world, if I am driving in the United States, should I pass on the right?
No.
I should pass on the left. I'm talking about on a 2-lane road. Should I stay to the right?
Oh. Well, no. We know what the traffic laws are. When you come up behind somebody, you go into the left lane, you pass them, and then come over.
I wasn't talking about passing somebody that was in my lane. I was just talking about as you're driving down the street, should you stay to the right? Somebody's coming at you.
Yes, you should drive on the right side of the road by law because it makes sense. Because we all had to agree on one of them, but that isn't true in another country. So
right, that's not true in the
right
UK.
Off the bat clear we decided one way or the other.
Right.
So it was an arbitrary decision, but we all had to have a consensus. We had to have a consensus for safety.
What it then makes is a situation where if I am driving, I should, in America, stay to the right. I'm using the S word. I should stay to the right.
Yes, you should.
Okay. As a person in this world now, should I respect the private property rights of somebody else's person?
Yes.
As in, should I?
Yes.
I should not go up and help myself to their kidney if I needed a kidney.
Right.
Okay.
Unless you're a prison system or a government or
we'll get to that in
corrupt body snatcher.
Just as an individual. Just as an individual.
You should.
If I was to help myself to somebody's kidney, what would that make me? I would be a shitty person, right?
You would be a danger to society, to general society around you, and society would deal with you. Yes.
They sure might.
Yeah.
And
if they caught you. If they caught you.
If they caught me, and I would probably, do my best to
not
get caught. But whatever the case is. But let's assume that they would catch me, and that's be good. So the whole idea here is that in order to be a decent person, you drive to the right in the USA, And if you're
Yeah.
in the world, which we all are, we don't steal somebody's kidney. That is
Right.
respect for private property rights, for property rights of a person. Try to say that 10 times fast. That's a mouthful. That's
I
respect for a
disagree with
person's
how you're
person.
cataloging it, or I disagree with the category.
You mean as far as private rights, private property rights?
Private property rights. Society agreeing that everyone should drive on the right-hand side of the road
Oh, that. Yeah,
via
that,
your
that was just
perspective
an aside.
is not property rights.
Yeah, that's not. That's just conduct.
It's conduct, right? Both of those things you just described were conduct and had nothing to do with property rights.
Well, you could be. Yes, that's a point about not taking somebody's kidney. But the thing is that if I am going, okay, I've got a choice here. I can either take that person's kidney or I could choose to not take that person's kidney. If I choose to not take the person's kidney, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter why, it could be because God said, no, that's bad, or it could be because I myself said, nope, I wouldn't want them to take my kidney, so I'm not going to take their kidney. No matter what the reason is, I come to that conclusion, and if I do that conduct, if I do not take their kidney, I am, by default, respecting their property rights. Make sense?
No, you're trying to jam in the word property in where it's not necessary. That's an extraneous word.
The person's body isn't property?
It's their rights. It's their personal rights. It's their right to private space. Is your I suppose you could force the definition of your organs being your private property.
I kind
But
of
man,
feel like
you're really having to push it, because when you also the next
Why?
when I know the argument that's going to come up is real estate, land property, and immovable things.
Go there. Yeah, that was coming later, but
I know. See, I was leapfrogging. I know where you're going with that, and organs are not the same thing as land.
Am I at liberty to sell my kidney if I want to?
Yes.
How's that different from land? I could sell my kidney, and with the money that I get from selling my kidney, I could purchase land. Doesn't that make a kidney kind of like the same thing as land?
No, not even close.
Got a totally different
No.
function, obviously.
Yeah, no, not close.
How that different?
Your kid, there's only one land.
Right.
Right? So if I had a square mile somewhere in New York City that everybody wanted, right?
New York City?
Valuable land. And the reason it has value is because of where it's at, and that there can't be more than one of it. It is, by definition, the land that it is, right?
Right.
Your kidneys...
That's a funny hypothetical, because you actually have that situation in real life. I don't know why you have to use hypothetical.
Right.
It's land in New York City. Go ahead.
New York City is in the news of Jon Stewart's being lambasted for, or Manhattan, selling an apartment, so that makes him evil. And makes him just like Trump. But no, so it's just in my head. But selling a land for... your land has value because it is in its place, and there is only one place. There's not another, and that's why I use New York City, because there's so little of it, and it's so precious that a plot of land in New York City has value because it is a plot of land in New York City. Your kidneys are not a one-off thing. There's not one of them in the world. There is not one plot of land in New York City in the universe. You only have two of them.
It's a limited market.
Right. It is a limited market, but it's not... Yeah. Actually, no, it's an unlimited market. You can make unlimited humans. There's not a limit to the amount of humans you can make or the amount of clones you can do. So it is potentially unlimited.
There's a time limitation there.
Right, but there is only ever one single plot of land in New York. That is a singular issue. It is a singular place. It is unique. A kidney is not. A kidney is not. So I know you're trying to equate those, and that's why I said I don't want to be obtuse or difficult, but it's different. So I know where you're going, but I can't agree with the premise. So you're going to have to get there a different way.
We'll skip the premise and let's just go straight to the end result then in regards to property rights. You own property in a state, in a town, in a state.
Yes.
You have people contacting me all the time with offers to buy.
And me, all the time.
And it's a brilliant thing. It's lovely.
I'm about to pull the trigger on one of it too. So I
can imagine you would be. Where do you get the right to own that property? That is your property, right? I mean, that's your private property.
This is where I will be a little obtuse. No.
Okay, good.
It is the state's property.
Oh, is that only because if you don't
stop paying taxes, they're going to take it from you? And the reason you have the rights to that particular outline of property is the state issued you the license of ownership for that measurement based on what the state measured.
Right.
So
and they give you the first right of refusal to pay those taxes.
Sure.
Is that not a marketable bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just say, isn't that right, title, and interest something that you could consider property?
Yes. In a colloquial sense, it is totally property. I'm totally with you on all that. I agree. It's just the underlining premise, because I think you're going somewhere that I'm not going to agree with, and the reason I don't agree with it is because intellectual property is a different type of property than actual physical property. An idea is always going to be different than a thing. I can think of a cup, but the actual cup are always going to be two separate things.
That's okay. I did a head fake on you because this wasn't really going to be a conversation about intellectual property until we get there. Mostly, I have been puzzling over the surge in squatters.
Yes.
Have you been following this in the news?
It has been an issue for decades now. I remember some stories coming out of Portland, and actually more Seattle. It was more Seattle, where there was people having issues with squatters. And then there was a huge issue in 2020 when there was a worldwide event that we may not talk about, where where the government said you cannot evict people even if they have, essentially you can't evict squatters, even if there was some sort of contract, because of the worldwide dramatic event of 2020. So I am aware of generally the issues, but I'm not well educated.
Let me give you some ideas real quick. Let's start with that whole concept of as you're driving down the street and you stay into the right. Now, what if you wanted to be an asshole and you thought, I pay taxes on both of these lanes. I'm going to drive directly down the middle of the street.
So we're in Florida. Okay. So we're in Florida.
Now,
gotcha.
You will do that, right? As long as there's no cops around, because again, a traffic cop will probably stop you. But until that happens, what is everybody coming at you going to do? They're going to be forced to slow down. They're going to pull way far off to their right.
Yeah, they're going to avoid. And then smarmy people like me is going to scream out the window, "Oh, so you wanted to take your half out of the middle, huh?" Yeah, yes, I'm aware. Living in Florida.
So essentially, what we've got here is an America that functions, quite frankly, on a don't be a freaking asshole kind of a situation.
A social contract. You're describing the social contract.
Yeah, you could say that. It is it's a very I don't want to use the word fundamental again, but I can't think of anything else, because it's totally grained in. We all know that we're not supposed to do that, right?
Right.
Now,
by training to societal exposure.
Yeah.
Not by birth, not by God, not by nature.
we've got a situation where somebody owns two houses or more. Well, let's just say two for now. They live in one, and the other one, maybe they rent it out, maybe they don't. Maybe it's a house in Florida. Maybe it's a summer home. Maybe it's just something that they're leaving on the back burner, and it's unoccupied. Now, if somebody decides that there's an empty house and I'm just going to live in it, that is edging your way just a little bit away from the right and kind of scooting into the middle of the road. Not completely in the middle of the road.
Right.
But just a little bit.
No, I would say it's in the middle of the road. If you see a house and you just move in and it's not yours, I say that's the middle of the road. I'm totally used that edging you were talking. I'm totally for edging. I dig some edging, but that is bad edging.
Well, let's take it a step further real quick. Let's just go a little bit further.
Move away from edging. Okay.
There have been some laws put into place in most municipalities, counties, and states, not so much federal, but on a local level, with regards to how a landlord must do business with a tenant. Okay?
Yes.
And when a person decides that they're just going to squat on a piece of property, they can, to some degree or another, depending on the laws of the local area, exploit some of these laws so that they can essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? They usurp.
Get away with it?
They get away with by exploiting, by taking on the rights of a tenant. Okay?
Yes.
And some of this can happen in common law. Some of this requires some documentation. Some of this might just be word against this. But essentially what happens is if the property owner comes down to try to evict the squatter, and the squatter evokes rights of a tenant, it immediately becomes an action for the courts.
Yeah. Litigate. Yeah.
If we were talking about just straight up trespassing, then the property owner could get the sheriff, and the sheriff would say, "Oh, well, you're trespassing. You're not supposed to be here, so you're out." That's a very quick and easy eviction, if you want to use that term. We wouldn't even use that term, because eviction is for tenants, not for somebody who's trespassing.
Right.
But the second that the squatter says, "Oh, no, I have tenants' rights. I have a lease, or I have whatever, blah 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 blah," and a lot of times, when this is going down, the law enforcement person on the site doesn't even challenge it. They go, "Oh, you've got a lease? Okay, that's enough for me. I'll take it on your word. Now I can't just boot you out because you're not a trespasser. You have the rights of a tenant," and the property owner, is now faced with doing an actual eviction, which takes a lot longer. Yeah. Weeks, months, sometimes longer.
Odysseus had this issue. This is not a new issue.
Oh no, it's not new. Not new at all.
This is biblical.
It's been escalated. What I mean by escalated is
been codified.
If we're talking about, if we were to equate somebody who is willing to squat on a piece of property as the person who is edging toward the middle of the lane, these guys, if you're just a routine squatter, and the second that the property owner says you've got to leave, that's somebody driving maybe not quite in the middle of the road, just a little bit in the middle of the road. Not bad.
That's just a sneaky monkey.
But let me toss out another idea to you. Now, this can't happen to you in Florida, but if you lived in another state, and that's only because of recent legislation that was passed. If you lived in another state, there is somebody who, if they wanted to, and I'm only mentioning this because it has been done, okay? Mm-hmm. They case out a house. They don't care if it's occupied or not. They case it out. They're going to see who lives there and at what point it's not occupied, at what point it's empty, right? During the day. So if you lived by yourself, or even say if you were taking care of an elderly parent, right? And you lived in that house, and you had to step out for a second to go to the store, or you're going to go to work real quick and then come back. You were just gone for a couple of hours. But while you were gone, because this guy had been casing out your property, here's what he's been doing for the last couple of weeks. First of all, he's prepared up a bogus lease. And the lease doesn't even have to have anybody's legitimate signature on it. It just needs to look legitimate with no real major scrutiny. And he could probably also use your address to get a cell phone bill or some other bogus bill. And he doesn't even have to have a legitimate bill. He could produce it down at your Kinko's and just have it look legitimate. So he's got a legitimate
false
looking
evidence.
lease, a legitimate looking, false evidence, a legitimate looking bill, and now it doesn't matter. And while you're at the store, he breaks into your house and moves his stuff into a room, okay? And when you get back from the store and there's somebody in your house, and maybe they've even had the balls, this would be swerving way into the left lane at this point, they've changed the locks on you. Because how long does that take? You can get that done in an hour or so. But let's say that you get home, you can't get into the front door, it's locked, you didn't bring your key, whatever the case is. You knock on the door, there's a stranger in your house, and you're like going, what the hell? This is where me and my dad live. You gotta go. He's going, no, I'm not leaving. I'm gonna stay here. That's okay. I'm just gonna stay here. I'm gonna stay in the left lane.
Right.
And you go, screw that. You get the 911, you call the cops come in, the sheriff comes over, and they're like going, this guy's trespassing. The guy goes, I've got a lease right here, and I've been getting bills here. I live here. I've been here for the last 30 days. I've been here for longer than that. I've been here for as long as he wants to say it. And you're going, and the cop goes, if you want this guy out, you're just going to have to take him to court now. And now you're looking at a lengthy legal process that costs you money. And after the cop leaves, the guy says, you know what? I really don't like living here. It's not horrible, but I don't want to. If you want to save yourself the pain in the ass of getting rid of me, I'll just take $5,000. Your legal fees are going to be about that much to get me out, and it'll be a couple of months down the road. So you can get rid of me now for $5,000. He literally shakes you down.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not making this up. This is
happening. I know. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, in light of what we see as people are swerving into that left lane of assholery, how important are property rights? Because you should not have to deal with that kind of crap in America.
Right. See, again, you're trying to assert or to force property rights having anything to do with that. The problem with that whole scenario is property rights. And it's a property rights contention. That's two people contending that they each have rights over the property. So that's a property rights issue. It's not whether it is a right to own property. It's tangential.
That's fine.
It's parallel. It's close.
Just let me ask you
this. It's associated, but it's not the actual property rights.
What do you do in that situation? If you did not live in a state that had legislation protecting you from this very scenario, what would you do?
And my father was in there? I'd
absolutely.
grab him by the throat and beat the living shit out of him and huck him out. I wouldn't call the police. I'd say, motherfucker, get out of my house. Yeet is what would happen. And then the cops would be called. Now, I am sick and I'm old and I'm weak. So I would probably get my ass kicked and be put in jail. But my instinct would be to grab that edger and yeet him.
Right. It would be hard to not want to escalate that. But
right. But as far as what should be done legally?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things I can think of that could be done. If you have, say, a Nest door alarm, and you could go, well, I've got video footage of the past 10 years, and this motherfucker's never been here. So
That'll
you would
work
have
in
more
court, but
evidence.
it's still not going to be enough for the cop to just go, "Oh, you're coming out." It will not get the cop to get him to move immediately.
Well, you'd have to take both people out then and put them both in jail or evict them both, and then have them deal in court and have nobody get it until it's proven. So you would
And
have
is-
to be
and
equal, and that would
Is
suck.
that what you want? Is that how you want to spend the next 3 months?
No. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, I've got the answer. Number one, you absolutely live in the right state for this because you are protected by legislation that, to a large degree, just wiped out a bunch of tenants' rights. How do you feel about that?
I haven't seen what the rights were, so I don't know.
The
It's
rights
like
of a tenant,
this state just wiped out a bunch of civil rights. How do you feel about that? Well, fuck, generally terrible, but what rights are you talking about?
I'm talking about the rights that allow for a tenant to stay in a property.
Well, there's probably just one of those, right?
Um,
No, there's going to be thousands. There's books. I'm guessing there's law. There's whole law degrees based on that. So saying the state, DeSantis, I'm guessing, wiped out renters' rights or changed stuff. It's like, oh, okay, but there's, this is a 4-year degree. So I'm guessing there's some information I'm not aware of, and there's most of the stuff that he kept. So I don't know how I feel about it.
What it points out is a very interesting little dynamic that's illustrated by Thomas Sowell in many of his economic books, and that is that there's nothing that's technically good or bad. There's only trade-offs. So essentially, if you are an advocate for tenants' rights, then you're also an advocate for squatters to be able to do the thing. If you are an advocate for landlord rights, you're definitely an advocate for private property rights, and you
false
want
dichotomy.
To be able
I'm gonna claim false dichotomy.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just a trade-off, but
No.
what's the third option?
Well, it's a balance.
Or where's
There's
the
no
happy
third
medium?
option. It's the balance.
Where's
You
the
can't
balance?
have just renters' rights, and you can't have just landlords' rights. That's like saying corporations have all the rights and workers have none. Well, no, that doesn't work. Workers have to have rights, and the corporations have rights, and you meet somewhere in the middle. So you can't just have. We had landlord rights only in the past. It's called feudalism. I mean, we had kings and queens and dukes. We had just landlords. There's a reason we call them landlords, right? We got that name from back then. So we've already tried that, and we didn't like it. So suggesting that going back to the things that we tried and didn't like.
What you had back then was a very centralized land ownership. The land ownership was very centralized, as in all of the land was owned by a very small number of people. And
Right.
what we've got right now, at least in America, is definitely very decentralized land ownership. Tons of people.
I would disagree.
Own lots
I disagree.
Of, little bits of land.
There are some of that, sure. Well, we've gotten there for a long time. It is different. But we've gotten there gradually, and it's
Sure.
important to know the distinction that we had landlords. We had the lords of the land first. We didn't like that. So then we moved, and then we had landlords that were white men. That was the only people that could own land and vote. And then we didn't really like that either because we changed it. It's clear we didn't like it. We changed it. And so we've slowly gotten more renters' rights, but I don't agree with this, more civil rights, I guess. And part of those civil rights are renters' rights, the rights of the renter and the worker, the rights of the population versus the rights against or balanced with the rights of the owner of land, the landlords. So it's always a balance, like you said, it's always a give and take, but it's never one or the other. We've done just one. and it didn't work. It's like me saying, well, with socialism, why do we do socialism? And you're going to go, well, we tried that and it was terrible. And I'm going, yeah, it was terrible what we did. So we need to find something new. But what I hear you clamoring or claiming and knowing that it's Florida. Yeah. Knowing that it's Florida and DeSantis, and that's the group that's taking away people's rights. I fear that it's more just land grab by land owners, by white men that want more power. Generally, now it is 2024, so there's also black men and Asian men, and there's women, so there's people with power trying to maintain power. And you're going to, if you lose rights, you're going to have people that will abuse that. Right? So just like you have two, if you feel, and clearly there's a gap here where renters' rights are too strong, you're going to have monkeys that want to game the system. You have landlord rights that are too strong. You're going to have landlords that try and game the system. And that is the battle. And you're going, do you think that was a good thing? I'm like, man, fuck, I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to work because we're all shitty monkeys trying to get along, and we never have. We didn't evolve to, and that's why I think AI is going to be necessary to keep us all. Religion did it at first, and then religion owned everything because God owns everything and the church is God. So religion was the cohesive thing, but we tried that and it was shitty, just like landlords was shitty. So I don't have my next shitty answer is try AI because we haven't tried it before.
I can totally dig that, and I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole on the AI thing, but and we don't know. Yeah,
it's probably going to end badly anyway.
We can see evidence of the AI in terms of its progress and what it's doing. It's clearly evident, but
I'm not hopeful.
There's a lot of people who are spouting AI. World post that video that you sent me, it's a lovely idea. I love it, but it
sounds great.
It reminds me of people who were talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
well, it's very biblical. It is physically and logically what spiritual religious people have been describing. So it is the actuality of religion. And here's the big difference that I always make with AI is religious people say the God made us in his image, and it's clear we are making God in ours. We made God, and now we are literally making, and I'd say angels, we are making angels to do our bidding, and it's not going to work out right. It's not going to be good. The angels of the Bible were fucking horrifying.
About it.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'd love to be
but the angels,
about it.
Yeah, they were horrifying, and I think AI is going to be even more horrifying. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to keep talking over you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
All I'm saying was, when I hear people talking about post AI or life after AI or when it comes take over, a lot of times it's very utopian or very much, and I'm like thinking, I've heard all this before. I've heard about this. This is what people who talked about the second coming of Jesus Christ sounded like. So I'm like going, is this? I mean, I know it's going to be great, but is it going to be like second coming of Jesus Christ great? Because I've got my doubts. I've heard that all before.
No, actually, you're exactly right, because that's what a lot of Christians that are against Trump say, well, Trump is so non-biblical or is not of the Bible or not Jesus-like. I'm thinking, have you read any of the Bible and the characters that are in it? Trump fits right in. So the idea that AI isn't going to be as good as the second coming of Jesus, remind me again what was supposed to happen after the second coming of Jesus?
1,000 years of peace.
No, there was a rapture and a darkness and seas turning red with blood and fires and
there's all sorts of crap.
Right, right. So the second coming of Jesus, I believe, is a very apt of allegory or of a parallel to the coming of AI. I think it's going to be just as horrifying as the stories in the Bible.
I suppose what I mean by that, though, is that they're both patently religious.
Right. Well, the reason for that, if you want my opinion, is we're human and we are attracted to that. So we're going to make it religious.
Yeah, we are.
And we're going to see it in religious. I've seen computer technology and the way we're building computers and AI and data a very, very close overlap to psychology and religion and biology and the way people think, way brains work. I say I haven't got enough RAM to deal with that. You instantly know what I'm talking about. I don't have the memory capacity. You know what I'm talking about. And that's technology. So technology and religion, I think, have gotten to the point that they're near identical. And there's always that quote: sufficiently advanced technology always looks like magic. Well, if this sufficiently advanced technology is also going to come across as a religion, I think.
So back to the private property thread real quick. If we assume that there's just going to be an enormous change as AI comes into play, increasingly, that's all good and fine. But right now, today, we are just dealing with a squatter issue. And, the only reason I even mention it is because it's gotten worse on a per capita basis. And it's escalated. So what we've got is a bunch of people who are really swerving over into that far left lane, part of that lane, and it's requiring some people to totally stop or do whatever they have to do to avoid a head-on collision, but you get the idea. For that analogy.
Yeah.
There's a ton of assholery.
There is. Now, in a society, if we went back to tribal societies where your whole tribe was like 150 people, and then one of your tribe moved into your hut or teepee or whatever it was and said, "No, this is mine." The elders would come out and go, "You little shit, get out of there. That's his house. We all know it. Move on." So the locality, the localness of a society made it near impossible. It also made other cruelties way more possible. But as far as stealing someone's stuff, not as likely because everybody knew you. But we're now in a society where we as primates did not evolve at all. And you're going, "Gosh, we're having problems with it." And I'm like, "Gosh, no shit." So I don't think
an interesting dynamic to keep in mind with regards to that is everybody's got every individual on the planet has got their threshold with regards to what kind of population density they want to live in, right?
Right.
And you've got yours, and you probably, quite frankly, I'm speculating just a little bit, but you'd probably like to live in a slightly less population dense area, only slightly. Am I right?
No, I have mixed feelings. In a better society, in a more imagined, evolved society, I would rather have the density. In this society, in end stage capitalism, in a society where everybody that has a gun thinks they're a fucking hero, I want to be as far away from them as I can. So yeah, I would rather be in a less dense.
You want to be in population dense area as long as you're not in a densely populated area with a bunch of assholes. Or better put, what would be ideal is you're in a population dense area with a lot of people who share your values.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That's where religion helps. That's where, because we don't. And that's with social media. I was thinking about that earlier this morning. I don't know why I was thinking about the border and border patrols and laws, but it used to be you could have harsh, racist, severe, violent border patrols, and you would be okay as far as a country goes, because that kind of interaction wouldn't transmit to the rest of the country, because we were transmitting information by horseback. So you could have a situation, a violent culture at the border where you kind of need it because that's where the conflict is. The violence is where the conflicts are. And inside those borders, you could have this flourishing utopia-like ignorance. But today, we don't communicate our powers. So the powers that we give Border Patrol are there to be in conflict with the border. The problem today is the powers that we grant Border Patrol transmit to the entire police force. So if you're going Big Brother and you want the Border Patrol to have a camera on their chest, and that as soon as they walk up to them, AI or Big Brother scans their face without their permission, because it's the border, perfectly fine. They are able to have that kind of Big Brother control, scan their face, catalog them, be the whole Big Brother. You have just been processed and known and dealt with whatever way. And the assumption a lot of people have, and this is what my thought, is a lot of people think that police all over the country aren't going to get that exact same power. Because it's just an app. In 2024, that power is a camera and an app at a Border Patrol. And I promise you, as soon as Border Patrol have that technology to do bioscans on every single person on the planet, every single cop in the country is going to do that, and you're going to lose all of your rights. So my thought, I was actually thinking about this morning, is that the rights, and this is in the Bible, I guess, treat your neighbors as you wish to be treated. Treat the immigrants coming over the border as you want to be treated, because you're going to be treated that way. That's how the police force is going to use the same app as the Border Patrol and treat you, because they don't know you. And this gets back to the small town, the small tribe. If you're in a small town and you get pulled over, you go, "Oh man, Bubba police officer, you know me. Hey, I'm Steve from up there." And he's going to go, "Oh, okay, yeah, move on." But what if you're not in your own town and City Slicker cop pulls you over? Well, he's going to treat you like the program in his camera tells you to. It's going to scan you, and you're going to be processed. And Big Brother, the whole no rights. You will not have right to privacy or any of those rights that liberals constitute, whatever the personal rights are above everything else. Whatever that is, however, whatever power you give to the Border Patrol, whatever viciousness you want to enact on border crossers, on illegals, are going to be enacted on you. And that was my thought this morning. So I was
interesting thought.
I didn't wake up in a good mood.
Let me toss out a couple of quick ideas to you. Number one, what you're describing is that we're at a tech level, and we've been there for a little while, probably a little bit longer than a little while, at least 20 years, I would say, where the police state, if it were given the power, could institute a very authoritative, draconian, totalitarian
Use the word could.
condition.
That's very weird. That's a very weird word. Did. I would say did. Have.
In what area? Are you talking about the
You don't
border?
think the police are more militarized and violent than they were in the past?
On a per capita level?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think
And
police now
especially-
have AR-15s instead of just like Podunk of Leave It to Beaver had his 6-shooter revolver? You don't think the militarization and escalation has occurred?
I think that I can't speak for it on a federal level or a state level, but I would probably speculate on a county and municipality level that after the George Floyd riots and the fervor, the movement to defund the police, I would suggest that that was a very successful movement, and that there was a number of municipalities and counties that did indeed reduce the funding to their law enforcement such that it has become very difficult to maintain rule of law in a lot of the population centers in this country.
I only partially disagree with that. That I'm going to generally agree with. But
Sure.
that's only recent. What you're saying is you accept the fact that our military or our police have been largely violent, militaristic, and Big Brother-ish until the cameras recorded them murdering someone by putting his knee on his throat.
What that spells out is that the people, the body politic, the society, can raise enough of a stink, an issue, or cry enough that if they want to defund the police, they can actually do it.
Yeah. Also because of technology, right?
World, there would be people crying out, defund the police, or do something about these, oppressive police, and the powers that be would be like, oh no, this is working for us real too good. We're not going to do that.
Right. So the citizens' rights, renters' rights, are opposing the dangerous rights of the lawman, of the state. So yes, I totally agree.
Shoot that by me again. I don't know if I follow it.
So citizens' rights are able to then push back against legal oppression, against the oppression that the state is putting on.
I don't know if I would call it rights, but let's just say that the members of the body.
I'm trying to relate it to that property rights thing we were talking about, or intellectual rights. Rights, when you have rights of the renter and the rights of the landlord, and those are out of balance, you're going to get danger, stranger danger. And just like with police and the citizen, if the police have too much authority, they're going to be little sneaky monkeys and oppress, and the citizens will have less. So you have to have a balance of citizens' rights and authoritative rights. And that's politics, Paul. What we're arguing here is politics on property, politics on intellectual, politics on borders, politics. So we're arguing politics about politics. This is the politics of politics.
But it does boil down to how far any given entity, it doesn't matter if we're talking about some asshole or you or me or some government body, an entity, or even just a government official or anybody. How far
or a lord
out of that right-hand lane are they drifting into the middle and, creating assholery?
Right. How far outside of the contract, the civil contract, citizens contract, whatever that societal contract they want to go, because societal contracts are different in different places.
So clearly, I would say nationwide, there may have been, over the course of the last 8, 10, 15, however many years you want, a certain amount of escalation with regards to police oppression that got completely neutered after 2020.
No, they got checked. They got checked.
They got checked, yeah.
They just got checked. Their police are still abusing power. Rich are still using the police to assert power. The state's still using police to assert power and enforcement. In fact, the property rights thing you're talking about is bringing the police in to enforce someone's rights, right? So whoever has the most power.
I'm assuming that you would want that if it was you, right? If it was a squatter that moved into your house while you were out at the store.
Well, you're telling me that the police aren't going to help.
Oh, in Florida they will. But it came at the cost of tenants' rights. And basically
so the balance, a shift in balance.
Yeah, you're having to decide, do you want to be an advocate for tenants or an advocate for property owners?
That is, again, one of those false dichotomies that capitalism and the powerful want you to accept. There's only one or the other. And what we
No,
want is
you're going to raise
as
the
little
dichotomy on me
friction.
one of these points, and I'm going to call
Yeah.
you the Master Sith. Jar Jar.
Master Jedi. I'd be Master Jedi. Thank you. But
I thought the
you
Siths
don't.
dealt in absolutes.
Yes, and I am dealing in exactly the opposite. I'm dealing in the balance.
Oh no, I
Balance.
think I'm going to catch you on one of these.
Because you keep trying, but I'm saying false dichotomy, not a dichotomy. Sith are the dichotomy, Jedi are the false dichotomy. So I'm saying that you should not think there's only two sides to this. I'm saying that people that are traumatized by capitalism, I don't know why, I need to rephrase it differently. People that accept capitalist viewpoints that they're, or I don't even know how to say it. It's not capitalism, but accept that there's only two sides and only one side can have the power. I think is false.
If I was dead set against capitalism, I know exactly what I would and could do to not participate anymore.
Not a goddamn thing, or put a gun in your mouth.
Oh, no. I would probably go out somewhere to the area where the population density was considerably less, and I'd find a house.
Only if they had never heard. Yeah, only if they had never heard of money. You're only getting away from capitalism if they've never heard of money. No, capitalism is a great system. It is the best system. It's just yes, I did. Yes,
said, right? Okay.
yes. Be a squatter. I get it. I get it. But I don't believe in the dichotomy that you could either have owners' rights or renters' rights. You have to have both. Or else you have slavery,
you do,
or you have chaos.
The interests of the owner versus the interests of the squatter, or I'm sorry, of the tenant, if you would prefer, are at somewhat of a conflict. There's a conflict of interest there.
Right, and hence emerged the story of politics. Yeah, and even with an AI, by the way, that's not going to solve this. The world is messy. The universe is messy. Yeah. The universe is gassy. But no, the world is, if there's more than one person on the planet, there's going to be politics and there's going to be problems. And there are a couple people on the planet.
You got to decide on what side of the road you want to pass on.
Right, and the other thing is...
You got to come to a consensus on these things.
Right, because nature has come to a consensus on this. It's whoever has the best claws and teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Period. But see, since we are... Yes, the biggest asshole. But since we don't live in the natural world anymore, we've created the human world. We are living in the human universe. And so the natural order of things is only something we can refer to as something that is there and obviously doesn't work for a higher evolved intelligent beings like ourselves. We have to have ideas and reasons, which is awesome, but it means we don't know what the fuck we're doing, and it probably isn't going to work out because Mother Nature by itself, without intellect, always comes down to who has the sharper claws. and that's I don't like living in that world. I wouldn't want to live in that world. I like being able to have my tea and talk to my best friend in air-conditioned comfort and not worry
how to break this to you,
about.
But you like capitalism.
Yes, I like the good parts of capitalism, and I dislike the bad parts of capitalism. And I think, as any rational,
that you dislike aren't capitalism; they are corruption.
No, it's all capitalism. You can't see. That's where we are going to disagree fundamentally. Because that is the religious viewpoint of it. That's the exact same as saying God does good, but it's the devil that does bad. The devil is different. God is all good. Capitalism is all good. Anything that's not good, that's not capitalism. Anything that's not for this isn't a true Scotsman. So that's the true Scotsman fallacy that you just described there. I could run down list after list after list. But that's why I don't agree with capitalism being good or capitalism being bad. And I think we're being stupid. We should use capitalism to value the things that humans value most. And what humans value most are not, and I'm talking about humans, the emotional humans, the family humans, the tribal humans, us humans. What we do not value the most is the amount of gold we can pile in our safe. We want to know that our children will help take care of us. We want to know that our food is healthy. We want to know that our neighbors aren't going to blow us up. We need to have the whole thing. And capitalism doesn't value any of that. It doesn't put a monetary value on me taking care of my father, right? So I'm in it. I am living in what capitalism doesn't give a shit about. I am in the cracks. I am in capitalist ass crack hell. And so the thing that capitalism does really well is makes very efficient productions.
Okay.
Done. Anything else you put on top of that is not human values. That's you're trying to work something in. Now I'm not saying it well. I don't have a grasp on my argument. But my argument is capitalism doesn't pay you to do things that are human. Capitalism only pays you for things that rich people want it to pay for.
Just two questions. First of all, is it the place of capitalism, as it were, to care? No. That's not what capitalism... No, it doesn't. Who is supposed to care?
People.
Okay, good. I'm with you there. Oh, that's awesome. Now, here's one last question. I want you to imagine a situation where you've got your air conditioning, you've got your home that you have a right title and interest in, and you got your tea, and you've got a bunch of creature comforts, and you're very comfortable.
Yeah.
Do you imagine in a post-capitalist world that you would still have those things?
Sort of. In my imagination of a post-after capitalism, whatever comes next from capitalism, I would hope, none of us know, but I would hope I wouldn't even need to own any of those, that those would just be the way it is. Like, I am now fairly confident, well, we're in Florida, fairly confident that a bear isn't going to attack me when I walk down the street. Right?
You could have some confidence there.
Not an alligator, but a bear. But that's just the environment. I don't have to pay for that. I don't have to own that. That's just the way humans created the environment. Because we're not in nature. We're in human. Human nature. Everything is human.
It might not be anything more complicated than that bears really don't care for concrete and asphalt. And so in order to just keep the bears at bay, we do a bunch of concrete and asphalt, and that does the job.
Yeah.
It's also good to drive
That's
on.
not it. Yeah. I'm not... Did I give you the comment of the covered wagon going to, or did I write that in a comment? I think I wrote it on a comment.
Somebody else.
Anyway, I could live in Oregon and not be beholden to the covered wagon, right? So I can live my life and be happy and not be beholden to capitalism. Capitalism is a tool. I could be in Oregon, because I use Oregon because of the Oregon Trail and the covered wagons.
Sure. Great example.
But I am not going to argue that the covered wagon is the only best system that there ever will be, and anything else is a deviation and bad. That's the tool that we use to get to where we are, but it's definitely not the best thing. And I can't even argue that there is a best thing. I don't think there is. I think existence is conflict. But I would like to have as little conflict in my life as possible. Capitalism is giving us that. Now, bring it to slightly back to intellectual property. Capitalism is now, with 2024 technology, breaking down. So I don't actually have to defend or attack capitalism. It is going to crumble because capitalism can't handle untangible values very well. It makes things efficient. It makes the construction of things efficient. It makes the cost of things very efficient. But what if it's not a physical thing? And we are in the information age. Capitalism is failing. There may be something to replace it. There may be, and I say capitalism, but I also understand that I understand capitalism is more like science. Whereas you can say, well, science doesn't work for this. It's like, well, no, science adapts and makes it so it can understand it. So I think capitalism can work. I think we can morph a post-capitalist capitalism into something that is more efficient and more human, but we haven't. And I don't think that we, as the cheeky little monkeys, are going to. I think we like advantages, and every monkey that has an advantage is going to try and keep it, and every monkey that doesn't is trying to get it. And I don't think that we in our conversation will ever solve that.
Oh no, it's not about solving things. I would imagine we're still just trying to navigate the world, and possibly navigate the world as it goes into AI and post-AI and post-capitalism, if that were to happen. But the reason I asked that question is only this, because right now I personally have studied, capitalism as an economic system and communism as an economic system, read my Das Kapital, read my several of the books that were after that with regards to everything that came after Marx. And I don't know of any other real major economic systems that could compete with either one of those two. And so I don't really think there are other economic systems in the running at this point. And I can't conceive personally, but my brain may just be big enough, but I cannot conceive of another economic system, particularly one that's post-scarcity, that can supplant either capitalism or communism.
Right, and nobody can. There isn't one.
Right, and if I was going to just speculate for a second on the cage match between capitalism and communism, I would probably say capitalism would come out on top. At least I would hope for it, and that's where I'd put my money.
And it has proven out to be true. That has proven itself.
And so if somebody is thinking that they would love to have a crush on a post-capitalist world, and they cannot conceive of an economic system to supplant it, that it's quite possible that everything that they love about their capitalist life, even though it has some corruption that they don't want to look at, and who does? I don't blame them.
It's not corruption, though. That's where I'd argue.
Everything that they love about the capitalist society, their private property, their AC, their tea, their comforts, they will lose in post-capitalist. And they will not have those things, and they will find themselves in a place where they long for the capitalist. Now, it's so
frustrating. You get there halfway, and then you just go, and this extreme. You go, this is reasonable, and then I'm a Sith. It's like, yes. But then you will lose everything, and I'm like, what? Why are you're making leaps? Your leaps are all the things that I am frustrated with.
It might sound like a leap. Let's see if I can come up with something to bridge the gap. The things that you value, that you have, are things that you value because they have a freaking value. You give them a value.
Right.
And other people might value them differently or the same, or more, however that might work out, or they will value other things more. And I think your property is a perfect example of this. For instance, you're coming to a place in your life where you're going to decide you would rather have the money than the land. Am I right?
Right. Which makes me a renter, by the way.
I don't.
In case
How,
you're
how so?
wondering. If I don't have property, I have to live somewhere. Right?
Become a tenant.
I will become a tenant.
Yes.
So you're. I'm not going to argue that we should drown all the tenants when I'm about to be one, right? I'm not going to argue against my own best interest.
Let me toss out a quick idea to everybody who's listening with regards to tenants' rights. There is a very simple way to assert tenants' rights without having to engage in lawfare at all, or even
You're already wrong.
You're
already wrong. It's clearly not simple.
No, I can tell you how to do it. I can tell you exactly how to do it. Pay your goddamn rent on time. It's as simple as that.
It is not.
It totally is.
It is not. No.
There's a possibility that if you are living at a place for some period of time and you've paid your rent on time, that the landlord at some point will decide, look, you've been living here for $1,000 a month, and now I've got to have to raise the rent because of who cares why. I've got too much butt on my hair, or hair on my butt, whatever the problem is. So I'm going to raise the rent on you, and you would decide at that point, I've been paying my rent on time, but I really don't want to pay more money for this. So you're going to find someplace else. And if you have to take a cut in quality of life because you're stuck on this notion of $1,000, as for instance, in rent, and you're not taking into consideration the devaluation of the dollar, well, then that means you probably voted wrong. And you should have voted some other way to maybe find some way to have the dollar keep its value. But that's neither here nor there. My point is...
Because that isn't neither here nor there. Has nothing to do with it.
If things stay the same, the landlord will never be, I got to raise the rent on you. And if you pay your rent on time, landlord's never going to be, well, I just need to have you move out.
You're wrong. You're wrong. That's wrong. All of that's wrong.
Or messing up the property, that you are at risk of having the landlord assert his private property rights on you.
Wrong.
Tell me how it's wrong.
Wrong.
Go ahead.
Wrong.
Shoot.
The landlord, their angelic nature, they're always fair and rational and even-handed. They are not.
They're just motivated
smarmy
by money.
Monkeys.
Go ahead.
They are not sneaky monkeys. Now, all tenants are also angels. They are not sneaky monkeys. There are no sneaky monkeys that will ever try to game the system to advantage their own agendas.
You mean somebody that would want to try to swerve out of their own lane?
What if you're black and I don't like you?
If you're a white landlord, or sorry, if you're any kind of a
white landlord, to go with that, like the black tenants,
race,
yes.
All you're doing is you're cutting out a certain
doesn't fucking matter.
Demographic.
Doesn't matter. That's as a policy, you have to address it. There have to be societal restrictions. There are rights.
The market.
Society.
The market will take care of that.
The market does not. The market is corrupted. The market is finagled. The market is made by the rich and those with the stuff. The market is not free. There is no and has never been and never will be a free, as you imagined it, market. So when you're saying that the landlords would never throw you out if you always pay your rent, unless your tenant was an ex-girlfriend or a buddy that just banged your wife or some Mexican that you don't like because they play the wrong music or some hippie because they smoke. There's always reasons that we create rights for the less powerful. the landlord is the more powerful. You have to have a backlash against the landlords, or else what you have is, again, slavery. You have feudalism, you have a king, you have dukes, and you have slavery and peasants. And that's if you have no rights. And what you're describing is, oh, the landlord, because the landlord has everyone's best interest at mind because money. I don't know. I don't know why your programming has been corrupted. Somewhere you've got something in your program that is breaking your brain.
I would suggest that the landlord just wants to make money.
Is that all the landlord wants to do? Is that really all a landlord wants to do? They don't want to expand their power. They don't want to oppress a group that they don't like. They don't want to bribe a group that has power to oppress. What?
There's no profit motive in oppression.
Really? I would beg to differ that the whole slavery movement had a profit motive.
That had a profit motive with regards to labor, but...
Okay, is there any other profit motive other than labor? Without labor, you don't get anything else. Labor is the basis for capitalism. Yes, and you're saying, gosh, a landlord, an owner, has to have total control over that. No, I disagree.
Hang on
I disagree. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Do you want to... Somebody really needs to get a hold of you.
Not me. I'll just catch up with them after work. I've still got 30 minutes for the love of God.
Oh. So I disagree with your assertions. It's not simple. There is no simple. If it was simple, the powerful and rich, the landlords, would have already done away with tenant rights. It would already be that way. But see, we tried it and we didn't like it.
Let's go back to just simple property ownership for a second. If you own a piece of property and you want to rent it out, and that's a big if, but let's just say that was what you wanted to do. How are you at that point swerving out of your lane? Are you? Right?
Not that I can see, obviously.
Good. Now,
I don't.
Let's say that you want to rent your property out. Please, for the love of God.
Are you sure you don't want to answer that?
No, I can't. I'm at work.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, no, landowners are all truthful and honest and would never... Sure, okay. Keep talking.
Let's imagine that you're gonna rent out your place, and you wanted to rent it out, and let's say that just for kicks and giggles that this was a property in Orlando, Florida, just as a for instance. I'm just picking one out of the hat.
Okay, the fact that you have to specify the place means it's not simple.
The reason why I want to specify the place is because
I
also want to specify the price.
I know, but the reason you have to specify a place means that there's different rules for different places. Nothing is simple. There is no simple transaction here.
The rule with regards to this is simple supply and demand. And
it is not. It is not. There is no such thing.
Hang on. If we were talking about a condo in New York City, Manhattan,
mm-hmm.
Right? You can pay easily upwards of $10,000 a month, sometimes more, sometimes less, but lots of money.
Right.
If we're talking about a condo that's twice the size of that one in New York, Manhattan, in Orlando, you would still only pay about $2,000.
Yes.
Maybe $3,000 on the high side.
Right.
Supply and demand. There's an enormous population density in Manhattan. That's the demand. And there's only a certain amount of property in Manhattan. That's your supply.
Right.
They're trying to increase the supply by building taller skyscrapers, for the love of God. It's hilarious. But in Orlando, what you've got is a price per square foot that is based on population density. Frankly, that's what it. I mean, really, that's what you got. And it's the same thing in New York. There's a price per square foot that you're going to pay that's based more or less on your population density. You can't get away from those ratios. But let's imagine for a second that you did. You own a property in Orlando, a condo, and you want to rent it for $10,000 a month.
Right.
Now, right off the bat, we know that you're probably not going to be able to rent it, right? Not for $10,000 a month.
If you're talking simple, that the building doesn't have a particular advantage or a security or something that has more value to it.
Is awesome. It's built to the tits.
No,
it's got
so
security to the nines, and it's
so your condo is exactly the same as the condo next door, but the one next door is 2,000, and you're trying to charge 10,000, but they're the same condo.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But by setting the price at $10,000, you have excluded the entire market. You've said, I don't want to even rent. You say, I want to rent, but you're more or less really saying, I don't want to rent to anybody.
Sure.
Because if you did want to rent, you would lower the price. You'd have to. Am I right?
Right.
With me so far?
Sure.
Okay. By stating the price, you immediately define your targeted demographic. And at $10,000, your targeted demographic is a demographic of 0. Now, as we lower the price, we're going to start to get into that demographic. That demographic is going to start to expand every bit slowly. So if you get down to $3,000 per month, you might have a handful of people that've got certain conditions, whatever they might be, that would become your target market. And it would just be a question of you being able to find them. But if you want to really rent it fast, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put it in a market rent. That's going to totally widen out your total demographic. And the only filtering you want to do from that demographic, that body of people, is anybody that's already proven themselves to be a bad tenant. If they're a bad tenant, if they've been evicted, if they might, you don't want to break any laws here with regards to equal opportunity housing, but you know this shit happens.
Right. See, you're having to tiptoe around that. So you already see it's not simple. You already understand that it's not simple.
It's not.
There's politics.
There's risk involved. Yeah, there's politics.
Yes.
You're gonna look at the person who is saying, "Yeah, I'd like to rent your house for $2,000 or whatever price you land on," and you're going, "You look like the type of person that plays their music super loud. You know, they've got long hair. They're standing with a guitar. You look like the person that might play loud music and disturb the neighbors." Or maybe you're looking at them and they're a total hippie or strung out on drugs, and you're going, "You look like the person who might be doing drugs. You look like the type of person that whatever, that might be disruptive." Because at the end of the day, the landlord just wants to make money and protect their property. So they're looking for that renter where they can make the money and somebody that's not going to hurt their property value.
Right. You're making an assumption.
What's the other motive?
You're taking your motive and assuming that everyone else has your scruples.
I promise you,
not everyone else has your scruples.
I'm trying to drive down the street, and I'm trying to stay in the right lane and pass. Mm-hmm. And if I cannot trust that the person coming at me is going to stay in their lane, then I can't really operate real well in this world. If I cannot trust that if I have a property in any given state, Florida or otherwise, and I cannot trust that there's somebody who's going to find that property vacant and decide that they're going to squat in it, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to own the property. I'm going to sell it cheap, or I'm going to get rid of it, or I'm not going to buy it in the first place. You get the idea? You have to have some level of trust that the person coming at you is going to stay in their lane, because if you don't, how do you function in this world?
Right. You're right.
So as a landlord, I'm going to stay in my lane. As a tenant, I'm also going to stay in my lane. I'm going to pay my rent on time. I am not going to paint the walls with any crazy colors. I'm not going to compromise the property value.
Laws are not for those that stay in their lane.
To some degree, that is totally correct. But let's put it this way then. If I was going to long for a world that was less regulated, and I do long for that world, and I was going to be the type of person that would be able to live in that deregulated world and be a good person, then I would stay in my lane. And I would not. Yeah,
so you're already, to me, you're already wrong with that. You're saying something that is not true. You're saying...
I would engage in assholery?
No. I'm saying your belief, your statement that you want to live in a deregulated world. That is a lie. What you don't want are codified regulations. You want the social contract. You don't want chaos. You want everybody to just understand that they should be on the right side of the road.
I do want that.
You don't want any regulations about that. You just want it to be that way. Now, if I was to say someone has a religious idea, that kind of encapsulates it. I don't want to have to force it or use force or have regulation. I just want it to be magical. I just want everyone to know what I know to be true and to follow what I think the social contract is. Well, goody for you if you're king of the universe. Unfortunately,
so I'm utopian for that.
Yes, that is, you couldn't get more. I wouldn't even say utopian. I would say a delusional. Utopian is pretending that it's going to be a happy place for everybody. And you're just thinking it's going to be a happy place for you because everybody's following your values. I mean, a great place, that is a great place to live if you're you. That's not where we live. And that's why I think you fall short with capitalism and renters and landowners, is you're living in the land of Paul. And everybody should act like Paul because it's the cool, hip, and happening place. But we don't.
Totally fair. I wasn't trying to suggest that I would be asserting my values on the road.
No, you were asserting that. You were asserting that without regulation, everybody would comply to what you think is a good social construct.
Actually, no, what I was really suggesting there was that you said because some people are prone to be assholes, that's why we have the codified laws. And all I was saying was, so if I want to move away from a world where there's less codified laws, the best thing I can do to engender that is to not engage in assholery.
Yes, but you can't have one without the other. You can't have a world where everybody just behaves and not have written it down. In a world where everybody's doing what we think they should be doing, we would write that down. We call that religion. We call that philosophy. We call that a life's plan. We have that a scaffold, whatever scaffold we want to put on ourselves to live our lives by. Those are the regulations that we write down, right?
What we're really talking about is the prisoner's dilemma.
Yes. And there was a game. I just saw a game theory video about that.
Yeah.
Very interesting on simple rules to get through the prisoner's dilemma. And it turns out being cooperative but forgiving is the best way. It wins almost every time.
That's awesome, because cooperative would be driving down the street on the right. Cooperation is a value.
Yes, but how do you quantify that value? Do you just go, oh, we all understand it, or do we write it down as an amount? Do we codify it so that we can evaluate it? Right? We codify it
that.
so we can evaluate it. So when you have the prisoner's dilemma, you can't just go, well, we all understand it, or this is the way it is, because you won't get any information from it. You're not going to be able to compare to see if everybody is doing that. You're just going to go, oh, look,
but
chaos.
At any point that you've got a body of people all agreeing to cooperate to get through the politicist dilemma, you increase the incentive for a single person to break into assholery.
You could say it that way if you wanted to, but truth be told, in nature and in humanity, because we are animals, from most of the studies that I've seen, it turns out it's like 10%, 15% that are just going to be assholes. There are 10% smarmy monkeys that are going to try and get away with it. There are 10%, I'm just using these terms, I don't know what they are, these amounts. There are 10% that are never going to break the law no matter what. And then there's a bunch of people in between that are kind of generally following the rules. And if you make a silly rule, of course, something that's inhuman, like you can't have a particular flower, a part of nature, and a lot of people like that part of nature, you're going to have issues. If you have total prohibitions on stuff, that tends to not work. But if you have harsh regulations against the things that are really bad, people can work to get it, can try to make it work, but you're always going to have a certain amount of people that just don't play by the rules, because that is part of the rules. Part of the rules of winning in the universe is not playing by the rules. It's not one I like. I'm super sensitive to cringe. So whenever I'm in a line where the construction is forcing people to come into a single lane, I know logically that just letting them over is the fastest way. Get them in. But then I see an open lane. Everybody's lining in behind me, and this one asshole comes all the way up into the middle, up the front, and tries to cut over.
Cuts in the line.
Yeah, it gives me a huge amount of anxiety and cringe, and I hate it. I'm not one of them. But I know logically that is the most efficient way to let the assholes go. I have feelings. I don't like to do that. There are times where I will actually lean into my cringe, accept my asshole, and I will not let you the fuck in. Even though I know it's the right thing to do. I know it's logically the right thing to do. So there's no simple rule. There's no simple ownership. There's no simple sales. There's no simple renter. There's no simple driving scenario. It's all really, really complicated, because life is complicated and we have different people playing by different rules, and those are all part of the rules. And so every time I hear, oh, the market will figure it out. Yeah, the market will. It will always benefit the ones that are most vicious and the most violent and the most corrupt and most sociopathic. And we already know this because we see it in nature. The ones with the biggest claws wins. And so as a society, the reason we have laws and a social contract is because we don't want that. We did that. But you're continuing to say, but no, that's what works. And I'm like, no, we've tried that.
I'm a fan of Law and Order.
Yeah, it might work. And see, but then you can go too far, and then I will point out, but that is Big Brother. And really, Law and Order will only benefit you if you're the one not breaking the law. And the other thing is, monkeys are prejudiced. Monkeys are racist. Monkeys are bad. Monkeys are all the negative things monkeys are. And they will use those laws against those they don't like. So that gets us back sort of to the laws that you put on the books to oppress or punish a particular group of people that you don't like are going to be wrought upon you. And that is one of my bigger things with the border, and why people that are hateful and scared and angry and think the Mexicans are going to bring in all their drug dealers and AIDS patients, whatever the fuck they think, whatever, because the Mexicans are evil, whatever group thinks that, and they want to give the Border Patrol those laws, are going to be wrought onto the rest of us, because they always are. So there's nothing simple, but at the end of it all, you are right. We are where we are. Oh, goody. I don't particularly like it. But yeah, you're right. Landowners should have rights, and tenants should have rights, and actually, no. What you're saying is tenants shouldn't have rights. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying about that.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that tenants, by being good tenants, will make their own rights.
Oh, good. So as long as you don't break the law, you won't get punished. As long as you're a good guy doing, as long as you're a good guy doing good things, then the good guy landlord will not do anything to punish you. Man, yes. That's a very cartoonish world that I'm sure would be very lovely to live in.
It is the world I live in.
It is not, but okay.
Even if it's a fantasy, it's the world I live in.
It is a fantasy, because I don't. Oh, I hear ya. I heard you.
I'll tell you what, dude.
Granddaughter's here.
We're getting up to the hour.
It's Friday, so my granddaughter's here.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and let's call this a good episode. Cut this into several.
Really?
If you want to, or however you. Yeah.
Okay. No, my part of my cringe is.
Really call it a good episode?
No, yeah.
I really do.
A lot of my cringe is that I can get about what I feel very aggressive, and you always try to be very rational, and and very stoic. You try and be stoic at me, and it always triggers me.
Stoic at you like a spear thrust.
Like a judgment.
Oh,
like
no.
a judgment.
I don't judge you.
And my own cringe, at the same time, I'm being aggressive and assertive and authoritative, and that I think I know what I'm talking about. At the exact same time, in my head, I'm going, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I don't know any of this. And I want you to prove me wrong and I don't want you to do it in a limp-wristed way. I need you to be, if you're going to change my mind, I need you to be really strong about it. And so far, you haven't changed my position, and it concerns me. It worries me. Am I delusional? Am I just a stubborn asshole? Or am I holding on to my core? And I don't want to be stupid about it. And the whole fucking time, I'm being boisterous and assertive. I am sweating and cringe, and I hate myself. So I would rather, my problem is selfish. I want you to be super aggressive and super ashholist at the end, so that at the end you look like more of the asshole than I do. That's what I want. But that's fine.
I'll see what I can do to accommodate
I'll just hug my cringe.
I'll just toss out a couple of things real quick with regards to how I kind of see this. For the most part, you and I don't disagree on a lot of fundamental things.
Right.
And
you're right.
What I really see happening is there is just a slight
agenda
distortion. There's a slight distortion of your point of view, and it's of reality, and it's not a thing that I'm like able to see because I'm looking at the world through your eyes. I'm basing it only on the feedback that that you give me and the words that you use describe the things that you see and how you feel about these things that you see. And I feel like it will only take a tiny little bit of a shift. And I could be wrong here, because it could be me that has the distortion. And it might even be both of us has the distortion, and there's going to be this tiny little adjustment in one or both of us that is going to then bring everything back into focus. That is kind of how I see it. Mostly, I'm just happy that you and I can have an agreement on property rights, even if we're only talking about real property rights, specifically your real property rights, with regards to what kind of money you're going to get, or I should say what kind of money you're going to trade for your right, title, and interest in your real property. At some point, you're going to take that right, title, and interest, and you're going to cash it in, and you're going to have money. And you're going to take that money, and you're going to stick it in your ears, and go, you're going to take all that money, and you're going to maybe buy some, you're going to use some of it for some more right, title, and interest in another piece of real estate, or you're going to use it to live on, or you're going to, do whatever you do with it. And that is the beauty of capitalism. That it will be yours. That'll be yours to do with.
I'll let you have it. It's the end. I'll let you have it.
I don't know how you could possibly refute it. You're like, no, I'm giving my land to charity. I don't want to put any ideas in your head.
No, I hate charity. I think charity is
I'm
evil.
glad you do. Because not for nothing, you know how the public records are public? I looked at the deal that she who should not be named gave to the real estate investor that bought her house, and she practically gave it away to charity. I don't know if you're aware of that. Don't do that.
No, I'm worse. I don't like any charity. I think charity is evil. I think charity is selfish, and charity.
I'm not talking about a literal charity. I'm talking about the real estate investor that purchased that house from her might as well have been a charity that she gave to, because she, for all intents and purposes, gave him or her property.
My she who shall not be named, or your she who shall not be named?
Yours.
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, it was...
That's why I'm saying, don't do that.
No, God, no. No. I would... in fact, I know that I'm not in my right mind. I am also very accommodating. Other than in our arguments, in deals, that the cringe tends to win. And so the way I'm going to compensate for the cringe of not wanting to be confrontational is I'm going to find an asshole realtor that likes being confrontational and let them do it.
That's a very good first step.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was... Now, the other thing that you probably don't know is that house was demolished.
Yes, I believe it.
It was in rough the whole thing had to be gutted. There was mold in the walls, in the ceiling. The ceiling, there was a wall there behind the refrigerator that wasn't attached to anything. It was a freestanding wall that you could push on that would move. And that was in the center of the house that should have been a supportive wall. So there was issues that they had to do. It was appraised, but she did sell it poorly. It was done poorly.
It was clearly in distress, I'm sure.
Yes.
And that was due to damage that it took to either, normal wear and tear, or perhaps there was a leak in the roof. And
in case you're concerned about me, I will tell you right now, I will make sure and consult you at the very least before I do anything, just out of courtesy and to hear your opinions. I probably won't follow, but I want to hear what you think about it and what your suggestion is, and before I do anything. And I usually try to do that. Yeah.
It'll all be on you. The result of this is going to be on you. You're the one that will live with the result. And so,
but I used to work in a real estate insurance place.
Yeah.
So I've had some experience with it. I was never very good at it. In fact, I was always confused, and I had a really amazing mentor that really kind of knew what was going on more than I did. And I learned a ton, but I did learn a ton from them, so I'm not totally ignorant on the goings on. And I consider it very, I see real estate agents very similar to car salesmen. So I'm not, and because of my mentor in that degree, I understand car salesmen. This is you again. I understand where car salesmen are coming from. Are you seeing a pattern here? So yes, I do consult with people that I think know better than me before I do something too stupid.
All right. Fantastic. So, well, with that all said, let's go ahead and call this one a good one.
Peace. It was good talking to you, man.
But it's in the can, whatever number this is.
21.
21? Get the out.
Yeah, 21.
Sweet.
Yeah, 21. I have not uploaded 21. I have not uploaded 20. I think I've only uploaded 15, 14. I can't remember. I'm because of that whole confusion with the YouTube pages and stuff. And my brain is super squirrely, so I'm having to just downloading it, just prepping it and downloading it and uploading it gives me anxiety, and I have trouble. So I'm doing the best I can.
Okay.
I'm totally willing, by the way, in case you're wondering, to give you the name and password to Riverside, and if whenever you want, and the new website, if be an admin and get on top of that, man, whatever you want to contribute,
let's do that.
You let me know.
We'll do that. But for right now, I got a jam.
Okay.
Oh,
tell everybody hi.
Nothing. But I'm
Happy
going
Easter.
to be gigging tonight, gigging tomorrow, and Easter Sunday, I'm flying to New Jersey.
Oh, well, jet set hero. Dun, dun.
Yeah.
Well, have fun.
I'll stay.
Yeah. See you, Paul.
Have a good one.